We completed restoring your 1976 Nishijin Model B Pachinko machine, and this quick start guide will show you how to set up and play. You'll also want to watch the video that we send you on the cabinet you purchased so you can see how to install this machine into a cabinet. The first thing you want to do is make sure your ball drain lever is locked. That's this lever here and this metal plate here. Right now it's unlocked, so as balls roll down this track and around here, they will drop down this chute because these white levers, there's two of them, are not in place. So right now they're in the drain position. You just push this over to the right, and when you do, it locks. You'll also see this metal part up here. It's got a weight on it. Just make sure that it's flipped down. The number one problem with Pachinko machines is the ball drain. The number one problem with Pachinko machines is the one ball seesaw in the wrong position. That is the white piece of plastic back here. It's a square, rectangular piece, and it has two Pachinko balls in it that act as counterweights, so that part can pivot up and down. Right now it's in the wrong position. In this position, balls will back up in your machine. They'll jam up. You'll never get a jackpot, and it's hard to clear the jam. So you need to always make sure that that seesaw is reset. The way you do it is right behind this round part here. There is a pin. It's just a little metal pin that's hanging down, and if you push straight up on it, it resets the seesaw. Now we'll connect the battery. I'm just going to swing this over, and when I do, you're going to see one of the lights come on. You have three lights on the machine. This one up here came on. That came on because you don't have any balls in the machine yet, so it's letting you know that there's not enough balls in the supply tray and back, and you need to fill up the machine. The other two light bulbs over here, these are the ones that will flash for a brief second when you get a jackpot. As you add balls to the supply tray, it'll push down this arm here, activating this switch, turning off the light. From the front of your machine, here is the light that comes on when you need to add balls, and over here you'll see the lights flash when you get a jackpot. Another way to tell that you need to load balls to your machine, maybe if you're not using a battery, because you don't have to, it's optional, is if this little sign drops down in place. You see it's got blue, red, and white. It's got a red and white N with a little bit of a blue background. When that sign drops down, you need to add balls to the supply tray. Also, when it drops down, even if you have a lot of balls in your play tray, a lever blocks the flow of balls to the shooter assembly, and so no matter how many times you flip, nothing will shoot until you add balls to the back. So when we add balls to the back, the sign lifts up. Go ahead and load some balls to the play tray right now. As we load balls to the supply tray, they'll roll across this track, make the turn, go across the lower track, and enter into your jackpot assembly. And here's where they'll stay until you get a jackpot. Next, we're going to place a bucket to catch the balls. Balls will drop out of this chute and out of this chute here. You won't actually need to do this because you're putting your machine in a cabinet, and what will happen is the balls will drop down, and then in the bottom of the cabinet at the back there's a funnel, and it funnels the balls down to the bottom to that white plastic tray. I will mention that sometimes though, as the balls drop down, they'll hit the wood down here and they'll bounce, and they may stay up against here. So you may have to put a piece of cardboard slant it so that as the balls drop, they hit it and they roll towards the funnel instead of getting caught here. Let's review the operation of a Pachinko machine. You have a post here. It's called a finger rest bar. You take your index finger, rest it up against the bar, then you take your thumb and put it on top of the chrome flipper. It's a little curved piece here. And what you're going to do is you're going to pull down on the flipper, and then you'll quickly let go. And when you let go, there's a spring in back, and it'll pull the flipper back up, and it'll take a ball that's in the shooter lane, and it'll launch it up the shooter lane, around. It'll hit a bumper here, and it'll bounce off that bumper onto the playfield. It'll ping past the nails. If it hits any of the round spinners, those redirect the ball. And the object is to try and get the ball into one of these tulips. They're currently all open. As balls go in, they close, and when the ball goes in, when they close, they open. Try to get it into one of these side pockets, or try to get the ball in the main attraction here. If you get a ball in any of those spots, the same thing happens. You get paid out a jackpot of balls to your play tray, and as the balls are paid out, they fall down and hit a bell, so you hear the bell ring, and also the lights will flash. Now if it doesn't drop in one of those, it'll fall all the way to the bottom, and then there's a hole right here. It'll go through that hole and fall into the bucket in the back. The first time you pull back and let go, you're actually loading a ball into the shooter lane, so nothing will happen, and the second time you'll actually shoot. You can also aim, so depending on how hard you pull down on the flipper is how hard the ball will be launched on the play field. So if you want to try and aim for the center, you just experiment with how far you need to pull down to try and get it to go in the center. Or if the tulip is over here, maybe you just want it to go up and drop down instead of going all. Okay, we got a ball in this tulip, we heard the payout, and we saw the lights flash. Now if you don't pull back hard enough, the ball will go up part way up the ramp and then it'll roll back down into your receiving tray here. This is also the tray where if this tray is full and you get a jackpot, balls will start to back up and come out here. I'll show you that. Okay, the second one dropped here, first one launched on the play field. Now with this tulip closed, if you get a ball to go into this side pocket, it will open up this tulip, and this one as well. So if this tulip was closed and a ball went in here, it'll open that pocket up. Let's take a look at the main attraction. If you get a ball to go into this top here, right above his head, into the side here, or this side here, or through the side here above his leg, or the side here. If you get it to go in any of those spots, it'll drop down into the center here. And a couple things can happen. First, there is a fixed ramp here, and it can roll along that ramp to that hole right behind my finger. There's also one on the other side. There's also one in the middle. Now, if it goes in the middle, that part actually pivots. You can see that pivoting. So as the ball gets on that, it might pivot left or right, but if it stays in the middle, it'll go through that middle hole. If it doesn't, it'll drop down. And it'll miss those holes and it'll drop down. We'll see that. Let me drop a few in. So as it dropped in, you saw it open these tulips. Now while I'm gently closing those very softly with my finger, you never want to pry them open with your fingers. I'll drop one down the other side. I have the machine leaning forward because the glass is open. Let me do that again. Okay, so both these sides open both these pockets. And drop one right in the middle hole. Also open those pockets. I'm going to push this down to this side, and as if it fell down that side. It opened this one, and we saw a while ago if we drop one in the other side, it opens this pocket. Let's go over what happens when you get a jackpot from the back of the machine so you can see all the levers working. First I'll explain it quickly, and then we'll actually watch it from a full angle like this, then I'll zoom in on a couple parts. So, let me see. Yeah, it's hard to see in the picture, but there's a hole right behind my finger, which is where I'll drop a ball, and we'll see it enter. It'll roll across some ramps back behind the plastic, maybe hard to see, but it'll eventually roll down here, enter into the one ball seesaw. That seesaw will pivot. The ball will then drop down, roll across down this chute. As it rolls down this chute, it'll land on an arm. That arm goes behind all this plastic, past this pivot point here, and as this side goes down, it'll push up on this rod here, and that rod will pivot all this linkage here behind this brown part, pivoting this white arm, releasing your jackpot arm so that all the balls that are in here will drop down, hit a metal plate here, roll across, then hit this white arm. that white arm will pivot down. When that pivots down, it will reset your seesaw. Then the balls will roll across, hit the bell here, and then go out into your play tray out front. Now as your play tray starts to back up with balls, they'll eventually back up where they can't hit the bell. They'll just bump into each other. And eventually, if they back up far enough, they'll drop down this way, hit this bell, and then go to your receiving tray out front. And drop one in here. Now we'll zoom in. So now I'll drop a few in. Now we'll move up the machine. Okay, now we'll show emptying the machine. The light has come on because we're running low on balls here, but we're getting ready to empty it because you never want to lay down your machine with balls in it because they'll get into places they're not supposed to be, or transport your machine with balls in it. So what you do is you got to do this ball load lever. We're going to go over to the right side of it, and if we just pull down on it, it will release, and then there's a spring. We'll pull this lever over. And all the balls that were in here up to that point fell down this chute into the bucket. Now we still have some balls here in the shooter assembly we need to get out. And what we'll do to do that is we'll just grab this rod that goes up and down, and we'll lift it up and drop it down. Okay, that's got all the balls out of the back of the machine. Now let's take a look at the front. So all the balls are here in your play tray. To release them, you pull this lever over to the left, and they'll flow down into your receiving tray. And then you can scoop them out of the tray into a bucket and then refill your machine. Now those flowed straight through. Sometimes the weight of the balls will cause them to jam, in which case you just take your finger, loosen them. Sometimes you might even have to try flipping the flipper while you're loosening them to get them to flow. We have all the balls out of the play tray, but there's still a few in the shooter assembly. You have a couple options. One, you can just pull down on the flipper part way so they shoot up the ramp and then drop in the receiving tray. But I want to show you how to open the play field door as well as the play tray door to access it. So you'll have a hole in your cabinet, and you'll stick your finger through the hole. So let me just show you here. What you're going to do is, there is a loop right here. You'll just stick your finger in that loop or underneath that loop and lift up. And when you do, the play field door pulls open. Now we can open the play tray door. There is a metal lever right here. Let me zoom in and show you that. Okay, that lever is right here. We're going to push down on that lever, and when we do, we can grab the play tray door and swing it open. Okay, and when we do, we can see that there is a ball in the shooter lane. So we can just grab that ball and take that out. But there's also several balls in the shooter assembly on the back of the door. Now, what happens when we pull down on the flipper, it's moving this piece of plastic right here. And when it moves that plastic, it engages with this ball load lever here. I'm going to do that manually. Pull down, let go, and it popped a ball in my hand. It would be putting it in the shooter lane. So you could just do that several times to get all the balls out of that assembly. You could also, on this side, if you ever get carpet fuzz or something in here, pennies or something that shouldn't belong, you could just pinch these two tabs, swing open the door, and the balls will fall out, and then you can get in there and clean out whatever you need to do. To close it, just push it until it snaps, and then it's reverse order. You just pull the play tray door, and we're going to snap it closed. It needed to lift up a little bit. And to close the playfield door, we'll pull it closed, and you'll want to push at the bottom and at the top until it snaps. Okay, that concludes this quick start guide. We sure hope you enjoy your machine.